All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. If you're a UNLV basketball fan, you got to be a little depressed. They lose in the quarterfinals of the Mountain West Conference tournament. The season is over. Also, if you're a Tucker Carlson fan, yeah, he called Iraqis semi-literate primitive monkeys, where people just don't use toilet paper or forks. This is what Tucker Carlson said on Fox News. I'm not quite sure how you can allow somebody like that to continue to work on television or radio, quite frankly. We're also talking about Lindsey Graham, the Robert Mueller investigation. We think it should go public, but Lindsey Graham disagrees. 257-5396-702, 257-5396 if you want to be a part of the program. We got Mike Babcock coming up here from TMZ in just a few minutes, and Johnny Katz from the RJ this hour. Let's go to Nick. Nick, thanks for calling in. How are you?
Hey, thanks for having me back.
Sure.
I had a question after listening to the conversation before. The other caller was saying that she didn't care. I kind of get that when you're fed up with something. But I think we trust the AG to give us a yes, he did it, no, he didn't answer. Just like when we watch all these trials on TV, nobody sits through all the gory details of the trial. Paul Manafort's either guilty or he's not. That's what the public wants to know.
Right.
We don't need to know all the little details because all the little details is just exactly what the opposition wants. They want to dig up all those little details.
I understand what you're saying, Nick. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't trust Barr, and I don't trust any politician, and for that reason and that reason alone, I want everything to be released to the public. That's it. When Donald Trump signed up for this and he went on the campaign trail, he knew, people around him knew, everything was going to be dug up about this guy. When you enter the world of politics in your comped life, this is what you get. And if you have skeletons in your closet, people are going to find out about that. And I understand, again, I understand what you're saying, Nick, but at the same time, I just do not trust these people. And
we don't trust the Attorney General. We don't trust Jim Comey. We don't trust who?
No,
I don't. These are law enforcement agencies, and these are the heads of these departments. So do we look into Comey now? Do we look into all these people when all these details come out? Do we dredge it up all over again?
Well, it's a valid question, and I would say if there's conspiracy that somebody broke the law and possibly committed a felony, the short answer to that would be yes, Nick. I totally understand where you're coming from, and I appreciate the phone call. But I think why don't we just take all that equation out of it altogether and just say release it all to the public, and then nobody will second-guess anybody. The investigation's over with. We know whether he broke the law or not, and that's it. It's done. Takes all the guesswork out of it, doesn't it? And we don't have to say, well, I don't trust this guy, don't trust that guy. Just release it to the public. 257-5396. Let's go to Craig, who's been waiting patiently on hold. Craig, how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Doing good. What's on your mind?
Well, I don't really agree with Lindsey Graham, but I just really am so tired of this. I just want it to be over and let's move on to something else, because the whole Mueller investigation is a sham.
Whoa. Hold on. What do you mean the whole investigation? How do you know that?
Well, look at all the indictments he's made. There's nothing except for process crimes and 18 Russians or whatever that they're not gonna prosecute. They're not gonna do anything.
Well, hold on. Oh, I got to pull back. I got to pull back on you and disagree a little bit with you, Craig. With all due respect, it's still an ongoing investigation. If there was a double murder, God forbid, down the street from your house, and there was an ongoing investigation, and there were a few arrests made, but police said the investigation was not over with yet, that it's still an ongoing investigation, would you just assume that...
I'm not sure it's appropriate to compare this to a double murder, Brian.
It's an ongoing investigation. I'm trying to define the word ongoing investigation.
Yeah, but you're totally increasing the scope.
An ongoing investigation with everything that is leaked out of the Mueller office, don't you think if there was actually some collusion, we would have heard about it long ago?
No, not necessarily.
It's ridiculous.
I think that, Craig, with all due respect, I think you're making a huge assumption. I'm just going to, I appreciate your opinion, but again, when there is an ongoing investigation, you're saying, well, there's nothing there because of this or because, the indictments or the guilty pleas, we're just going to assume that there's nothing there. No. It's an ongoing investigation, and I am not going to agree with you until the investigation is over with. And in Robert Mueller's report, hopefully we see it, in his report it says there's absolutely no Russian collusion. Then I will go on the air and I will say I am happy that Donald Trump did not collude with Russia. But until that happens, I'm not going to make that assumption. Let's go to Marge. Marge, thanks for calling in. How are you?
Fine, thank you. You know, the issue about should we care or not, I think we need to care because aren't we paying for this report and all the investigation that's been going on? It's our tax dollars.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. It is your tax dollars, and that's a very valid argument. We should get all the information as taxpayers. We absolutely should. Now, you could also make the case, look, Robert Mueller, this investigation hasn't cost taxpayer money because he's made that money back in restitution, which is a good thing, by the way, Marge. But I understand what you're saying. Look, as taxpayers, as voters, as Americans, we deserve to know the truth.
Yeah.
And that might sound like a cliche, but I'm with you. Yeah. I want every single detail. I don't want any, I don't want anything out there being like, well, I wonder why we didn't get this information. I wonder why Barr didn't tell us about this. I don't want that out there. I want this. If we all want this to be over with, like all these callers are saying, then let's get the truth.
Yeah. And the other part of this, too, is that if they try to leak, it's better to just get the whole report out and be done with it and have some sunlight on it rather than anything else.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of these leaks, Marge, and I don't know exactly where they're coming from or who's saying what to who. I'm not a big fan of it, but just to assume that just because there have been leaks that there's nothing there to me, that's irresponsible, and I disagree with that way of thinking.
And if they don't do it, the other part of this is that if Trump decides to run again, which most likely he will, it's going to be a cloud. I mean, it's going to be a big question in the election, and it will be brought up constantly.
Well, here's an interesting question: if there is something, if something is already out there, or if you think that that something is smoking gun that could really get Trump in trouble, with how much she is changing policy right now, with what he was actually doing for the country, that is totally opposite of what the left wing would prefer right now. Why would they not want to get that out as soon as possible? Get this get this investigation over as soon as possible, and get this guy out of office.
Yeah, and that way, he's been saying all along, I didn't do it. Well, yeah, get the report out, and he can say, look, see, I didn't do it, and be done with it.
All right, Marge, good to hear from you.
What I'm saying is, in the interim, he's passing all these different laws. He's doing all these different things for the country, and that's not going to change. Even if he gets impeached or committed or accused or actually charged with crimes, what's that going to change when he's out of office? Nothing.
I agree. I agree with that.
So why not get this done as soon as possible?
Because you want it done the right way, though.
But he's still passing laws. He's still doing a lot right now that the left wing is totally disagreeing with, clearly, obviously.
Yeah.
But that being said, if AG Barr has some really smoking gun information and you've got a very polarized left and a very polarized right, and it's announced and nothing is done immediately, you're going to have public unrest. You could have riots in the streets. You could have a lot of different things that could take place because both sides are totally opposite of each other. There's literally hatred both ways. There's strong opinions both ways. And I think protecting that information is actually good for the country long term to prevent something like that from taking place, which is not good for the country and which is an embarrassment. You talk about Donald Trump saying things that embarrass the country on a worldwide level. Having major unrest over something like this would embarrass the country on a worldwide level as well. Yeah. And I think you have to take that into consideration, and no one really is at this point.
Fair enough. He's J.D. Sharp. I'm Brian Shapiro. I just received, by the way, some extremely breaking news when it comes to UNLV basketball. I will get to that in the next segment, but a very good source tells me that Marvin Menzies is gone, and an announcement is expected to be made on Saturday. By Saturday. Very good source. So that I like to give it literally. I just got the text message as you were talking from a source that is very reliable that Marvin Menzies expected to be announced that he will be fired, let go, whatever word you want to use, as the head coach of UNLV basketball on Saturday. I've heard that from several sources that I believe to be true. So Marvin Menzies most likely will be let go within 48 hours. Let's go to Seth. Seth, thanks for calling into the Vegas Take. How are you?
What's up, Seth?
I'm doing good. How you guys doing?
Doing good, Seth. What's on your mind?
Good. So I think Tucker Carlson should resign once Al Sharpton, Joy Behar, Joy Reid, Don Lemon all resign. Then that'll make sense.
Can I ask you, Seth? Okay, so let me ask you a question, Seth. Has Don Lemon ever said anything racist?
Yes.
Okay.
All the time.
Okay, so in regards to what Tucker Carlson said, calling a woman the C word, he also said that Iraqis are semi-literate.
Well, it was a spoof show. None of us have heard the full segment, so none of us know the context. It could be different.
That's not true.
And it's old.
That's not true.
Well, who cares? That's
what do you mean? What do you mean? Who cares? So when when it's very convenient for your argument, you can say who cares, but then you want to bring up Don Lemon because you disagree with his politics, or you want to bring up Joey Behar because you disagree with their politics.
I'm saying who cares because we don't make a big deal about those guys still being in power.
I'm asking you a question. What has Joey Behar said that has been racist? Let me repeat. Do you want me to repeat again what Tucker Carlson said? Calling women the C word, making fun of women based on looks. He called Iraqis semi-literate primitive monkeys, okay? Has Don Lemon ever called anybody that? I'm not a huge fan of Don Lemon, okay? You disagree with his politics, obviously. Name me one thing that any of those people that you listed just said that is anywhere close to what Tucker Carlson said. Please tell me. I'm all ears.
The thing about the interracial couples or calling all...
Give me an exact quote. I just gave you an exact quote.
The biggest threat in America is white males. Don Lemon.
The biggest threat in America is white males. Okay,
that's actually pretty racist.
So
Brian.
if he said that, why don't you give me?
Really racist.
So why don't you give me?
That's quite racist.
So
the racist test is to flip it. If a white person were to say about a black person, you would find that racist.
So you don't want to give any. I just gave you the. I just gave you the exact quote and everything that was said. You're telling me Don. By the way, I don't recall Don Lemon ever saying that. I don't know where you're getting that from. How about Joey Behar? How about Joey Behar? What has she said that's racist? I can't wait to hear this. Please tell me.
Not racist, but she said bad things about religion.
She's okay. What did she say about religion? I think religion sucks. Well, I'll give you a quote. I think religion sucks. What do you think about that? Does that mean I should be fired? You want to compare me to Tucker Carlson?
No, because it's not specific to one religion. So, anyways, my second point was about the Mueller thing, which is a bigger thing. I think he has no credibility. He's already charged somebody.
What a shocker. Do you think Donald Trump has credibility? It's hard to listen to you when you start a conversation by saying Robert Mueller has no credibility, but I've never heard you call into the show saying anything negative about Donald Trump.
But I'm trying to follow up with why
okay.
The reason why I say
know. Go ahead.
Okay. So he's already the only person who's actually gone to trial has had over half of the charges found not guilty. So he's already been proven to charge people with stuff that's not true.
That's not true. That's completely an idiotic statement you just made. It's an ongoing investigation. There's been a ton of guilty pleas. There's been a ton of people that have lied.
I didn't say pleas. People take plea deals all the time.
Because they're guilty. Because they committed crimes. Really? Really? Okay, so people should. Really? I'm not being. So people just. Are you kidding me? So people just plead guilty when they're innocent? What kind of buffoon are you to think that way? Give me a break, Seth.
No other reason to plead guilty.
Okay, Seth, are you guilty? Are you guilty of collusion? Are you guilty of lying to the FBI? Yes or no?
No, I'm not paying.
Yes or no? Yes or no? Are you guilty? Give me a break. Get off my show. Get off our show. I'm sorry, JD.
Thanks for the call, Seth.
I got Mike Babcock on the line. Jesus. Are you kidding me? Do people really think that way? Am I out of my mind here? People just say they're guilty and they've done nothing wrong? I got callers calling in saying they don't care what Donald Trump does, and I got other guys calling in saying that Joey Behar has said things just as bad as Tucker Carlson. Oh, good grief.
I will say this. I don't think that Mueller has a lot of credibility with the Russian angle here. He has gotten people for things, but those are just kind of branches off of the initial investigation.
Again,
there's nothing attached to collusion, nothing attached to... Yeah. Manafort obviously was not a good human being for the last 25 years of his life.
Well, what's that have
to do with Donald Trump? Absolutely nothing.
Let's ask Mike Babcock what he thinks about Russian collusion. Mike Babcock from TMZ Sports. Mike, how's it going?
Hey, what's up,
man? How you doing?
What's up, fellas? It's getting heated.
It is. It always gets heated
sometimes,
on the show, man. It always does. By the way, I wanted to ask you about
it. And then I come on and I talk about like the Kardashians or
yeah, exactly.
Robert Kraft or something.
I want to ask you a story that was a little local. So Jose Canseco goes nuts on Twitter several days ago, talking about how his ex-wife is banging A-Rod, for lack of a better term. And he's willing to take a polygraph test, and then his ex-wife comes out and says it's not true. What do you make of this whole story?
Oh, man. Jose Canseco. I don't believe it. She came out. She said it wasn't true. She said she hasn't seen A-Rod in 5 years. I got to take her at her word because I love Jose. I talked to him last week about Tim Tebow, but I think just about everybody on this earth has more credibility than Jose. Although Jose, you know what? You say what you want about him. He hasn't really been shown to be a liar. He's one of the only guys who has told the truth. But in this situation, I don't buy it. I think J-Lo and A-Rod love each other, and I have faith in their love.
I don't. That's just me. The over-under
on what it's going to work.
The over-under is 18 months. How long this marriage lasts?
I'm going over. I'm
really?
going over.
Really?
Yeah.
All right.
I feel very confident about those.
What's A-Rod? What is he?
Already.
Is he 44?
He's up there. They're both up there.
Something like that.
Yeah. But really, if A-Rod was cheating on J-Lo, would anybody really be surprised at that? That wouldn't surprise me at all. So I don't know.
No, it wouldn't surprise me.
I do think it's funny that Jose goes on Twitter and he just loses his mind. He puts out a number on there that is one of his handlers.
Well, it looks like Jose just needs a little bit of attention. Every couple of years, he likes to get himself a little bit of attention. This is a nice little outlet to do so.
I guess so.
He found his in.
It's crazy. I'll tell you somebody else.
Boy, did he ever. He got a lot of attention.
He did.
Yeah, so now he's happy.
I'll tell you someone else who gets a lot of attention is Conor McGregor. And you guys put a story up there about apparently he assaults someone walking down the street trying to take his picture with a cell phone. What exactly happened here?
Yeah, Monday morning around 5 a.m. Outside of the Fountain Blue. They were inside of Live, and they were walking out of the club. And the victim says that he was just trying to take a picture of Conor McGregor, as many people do. And he says that Conor gestured for him to come over as if he was going to shake the guy's hand. And when Conor got within reaching distance, Conor knocked the phone out of his hand and then started stomping on the phone while Conor's security held this guy back. And then Conor then picked up the phone, put it in his pocket, and walked away. I'm not saying allegedly to any of this stuff because we got a video late last night and we published it early this morning, and you hear the stomps and you partially see the end of a stomp, and you see Conor's foot go right down on the phone. You see the guy being held by Conor's guys, and you hear the guy saying, like, please give me my phone back. And I felt bad for this guy that he's got these giant men in his face, and Conor's stomping on his phone. And now Conor's in big trouble. He's in really big trouble. They hit him with 2 felonies. He's facing 15 years in prison. I mean, let's be real about this. He was facing some prison time in New York too with the buses, and he ended up doing 5 days of community service at a church. So,
right.
Do I think Conor's going to go to prison for 15 years? No, but there are 2 felonies. They're serious charges. And to make matters worse, the guy just filed a lawsuit this afternoon. So now he's got a civil lawsuit and hefty criminal charges. So not a good week for Conor.
So what did he have? 55 Bitcoins on that phone, digitally stored?
Yeah, I don't know. Well, he says he had pictures of his young child, which he hadn't backed up. So they're not in the cloud or anything. So he's never going to get those photos back. So,
well, I'll tell you what he's going.
I'm not surprised that Conor McGregor basically freaked out on paparazzi, because that's kind of what this guy was, not formally. But that being said, I am disappointed that he actually had his guys hold him back and not let the guy at least try to get his cell phone back.
That's right. I legitimately felt bad. I usually am the one to defend Conor, and I like Conor. I think he's fun. But I genuinely felt bad watching this guy being held back and Conor's crushing his iPhone outside. And look, an iPhone costs $1,000, and to regular people, $1,000 is a lot of money. And I know it's not to Conor, but look, this is what Conor wanted. Conor wanted to be famous. He wanted to be the most famous athlete in the world, and now he's right there. And what comes along with making $100 million a fight in being famous is that people recognize you, and it's hard to go places, and people are going to take pictures of you, but you can't lash out at people.
Well, yeah, this is kind of the aftermath of being the Floyd Mayweather of UFC.
It's true. It's true. It's funny, though. We saw Floyd in Beverly Hills, the Tuesday or Wednesday, I can't remember off the top of my head, but Floyd, look, he's photographed everywhere he goes, and I think he was taking a little shot at Conor because he's like, photograph. He's like screaming on like Rodeo Drive, like, photograph me, shoot me, I'm the greatest. Saying that I'm not bothered by all this attention. But Floyd, you want about Floyd, but Floyd at least handles that part of the fame.
Here's what, but
he is a marketing genius.
But Babcock, here's what confuses me about this whole thing. I understand when these fighters do some radical, ridiculous things, maybe a week or two before a fight, they want to get their name back in the news for free publicity. I get that, but this does not seem like this is the case. This is just Conor McGregor not being able to control his emotions. And, this to me, this has nothing to do with promotion, and it has everything to do with the guy just can't control himself.
Absolutely. I mean, there's nothing to promote. I mean, he didn't stomp on the guy's phone to promote his whiskey,
Right.
It doesn't make any sense. I see a lot of people are questioning why he was even out. And Conor's 30 years old; he can do whatever he wants. But he's got his family, he's got his D. Devlin and his kids and some family members like holed up in a house they were renting, and he's down there at a club at 5 a.m. So I don't know what was going on. It's kind of been hard to determine whether he was intoxicated.
Yeah, it almost sounds like he was like he was high on cocaine or something like that. And when something like this happens and it's not even near fight time, I wonder if it's not unreasonable to assume that maybe he has early onset CTE, or maybe he's on HGH or steroids, because that type of reaction is just not natural for really anybody ever.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say obviously with any type of proof, but I wouldn't rule anything out, because this is not like you said, it's not a way a rational person acts.
No doubt. If you're just joining us, Mike Babcock, TMZ Sports, does a fantastic job over there. Always busy. It's been a busy few months for you guys.
Always.
And whenever Dennis Rodman makes news, I'm always interested to hear about that. So I guess you guys caught up with him, and he said that players need to stop wearing tampons in the NBA. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, he thinks the game has gotten too soft. So I don't know, not exactly the 2019 way to put things. I think that there were some women that were offended by that,
right.
Because the connotation is that women are soft, and I think that the female sports are great, and a lot of times they're even more competitive than guys.
Which is interesting, because he used to dress like a woman regularly.
Right. You would, if anyone was going to understand, you would think it would be Dennis Rodman.
Yeah, exactly.
So he talked about that. He said, stop wearing tampons. And then he talked about the North Korea summit with Trump and Kim Jong-un. And he said that it didn't work out because, essentially Trump came in too hot. He's asking for too much, and you can't ask his friend Kim Jong-un to give up his entire country and his people. You have to ease into it. And he said that's why the summit failed, in his opinion.
Wow.
Well, he would actually know, because he's the reason that they had that meeting.
Soon.
Yeah, I believe that.
He says he's going back to visit soon, so he's going to go see his buddy Kim Jong-un.
I do agree with what he said about the NBA, like what LeBron and the Lakers, with how they basically shut everybody down, and you can kind of tell that LeBron is saving himself for when he has a good team. He's not really trying right now. I do agree with Rodman. I think that the term was, obviously his phrasing was very poor, but I do agree. I mean, you look at like Lonzo and Ingram, and I mean the Lakers right now are basically they're playing nobody because they're trying to save themselves, and this would have never ever happened 15, 20 years ago. Ever in a million years.
Sure, I especially agree with you for the young guys, Lonzo Ball and all the other young guys that they have. I mean, play for LeBron. I mean, if you view this as that he has a finite amount of gas left in the tank, and obviously they're not going anywhere this year. So if you want to try to save all that you can, every last drop for last year, then I understand that. But play the young guys.
Yeah, no doubt.
Hey, what's your take on the Russell Westbrook situation with the Utah Jazz fan?
Oof. Yeah, that's a tough one. I was very against Russell at first, because I didn't think under any circumstance should a player threaten a fan, and no less a female fan in the that's watching a basketball game. But now I've seen some video, and the guy, he gave that interview to whatever the local station was, and whatever he told that TV station, he clearly said more than that, because I've now seen that on tape, and he was calling him boy and some other questionable terms. So I think they were both wrong. I think Russell has got to just keep his cool and walk away, grab a security guard, point at the guy, and I don't care if it's an away game or not. They'll kick the guy out of the stadium, so the arena. So
at the end of the day, this guy's making $20 million a year, actually almost $30 million a year.
Yeah,
it's part of the territory. You're going to have people that dislike. You're going to feel that, obviously, if he says something totally over the top and completely racist, then I understand that type of reaction. But if a fan's heckling you, you get heckled. That's part of being on the opposing team on the home court. That's why there's a home court advantage.
Can I heckle you for? I think you said at the end of the gay instead of the end of the day.
I said day.
Oh, okay. I thought you said gay. Okay, I apologize. Then. It's my fault. Mike, this is what we do. Sophomoric humor here. Mike,
always terrible.
I like it.
Always,
I got to come in there one day.
I would love for you to. Are you kidding me? Sit with us for the whole show, man. We'll have some fun. Mike, you do a great job over there at TMZ Sports. Always enjoy it when you come on, and look forward to having you on next week.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
All right.
Hey, thanks a lot, Mike.
There you go. Mike Babcock from TMZ Sports. Okay, so I want to reiterate what I just said 10 minutes ago, because my Twitter is going crazy, because I just posted something on Twitter. I'd like to think, JD, I have some pretty good sources, some honest people that are not biased, that are very close to the program, and I don't reveal my sources. I have friends.
You've been in radio you've been in media in Vegas for 20 years.
I have friends.
You know quite a few people that know some things in this city.
I have friends, and I don't reveal that on the air. I don't want to sound like a mobster or anything like that. But a personal friend who's very close to the program told me, according to a regent that he spoke with, that they don't know who the new coach is going to be, but Marv is out, and that an announcement could be made as early as Saturday. Marvin Menzies, the head coach of UNLV, allegedly, based on the information that I have, an announcement could be made as early as Saturday that he could be out. So that is the breaking news that I have. Don't know if that is 100% true, but what I wouldn't be making this announcement on the air like I am, and I wouldn't be putting it on social media unless I believed it, and I do believe the sources that I have are very credible. I've heard this from at least 2 people that I know that are very, very credible, that are, juiced into the program. So, JD, what's your first reaction when you hear that?
That's the right decision.
Yeah.
That's the correct move for a number of reasons. Performance, product, attendance, composure, the fact that he's not fitting in the community in a lot of ways, making statements like they're like creating false racial epithets potentially.
Yeah,
I mean, to me that's a really big deal. And then also this is UNLV. This is Las Vegas. There was actually a poll done by Las Vegas Local a couple of days ago.
Yeah,
and a lot of the country agrees that Las Vegas will be the sports city in the entire world in a couple of years. And I agree with what the Raiders have going on right now with picking up Antonio Brown and Trent Brown and Gruden and Mayock, and how the Summer League does 18,000, 19,000 tickets a day or a game.
Mm-hmm.
The NBA is going to do very well here. I mean, there's just a lot of there's a lot of sports momentum happening here, and UNLV basketball, which won a championship 30 years ago, cannot be totally left behind, and they will be if they keep this head coach. And firing him or letting him go and picking up a coach like a Thad Matta is a huge move for UNLV.
And I don't know that. I don't know if they're going to hire Thad Matta. I have no idea, and this isn't information that I have. This is from sources that I have.
Right. I will say Thad Matta is my absolute personal preference outside of maybe Larry Eustachy.
Yeah, Larry would be great, but we all know that's not going to happen. But with that being said, again, I trust these sources that I have, and the sources that I have told me in the middle of this segment that Marvin Menzies is expected to be let go within the next 48 hours. We'll have to wait and see if that's true. But like I said, I'd like to think that the sources I have are pretty good. I've been doing this for a long time, and I would not be saying this on the radio unless they were true. So we'll continue to monitor this. Johnny Katz from the Review-Journal going to be joining us next. What is there to do in Vegas this weekend besides basketball? We'll get up to date with Johnny coming up next. Johnny Katz from the RJ. You're listening to the Vegas Take on the all-new 101.5 FM, 720 AM KDWN.